Engineered for obedience, but the human taught her how to dream. The Valorian soldiers moved like shadows through the purple mist of Nexus 7, their movements precise and deadly. At their center walked Unit 09, designated Novia only for mission clarity. Unlike the humans in her squad, she needed no breathing apparatus in the toxic atmosphere. Her enhanced physiology processed the poison with each breath. Her purple-tinted synthetic skin designed to blend with the planet's unusual light. Contact, northeast quadrant, she reported, voice devoid of inflection. Her enhanced vision had spotted movement where the others saw nothing. Captain Reeves nodded. Neutralize, one word. That was all it took. Novia moved forward faster than human eyes could track. The rebel insurgents had barely raised their weapons when she reached them. 7 targets eliminated in 12 seconds, standard efficiency. But then something happened. As she stood over the last fallen rebel, a small object fell from his pocket. A simple carved figurine, a child's toy. Novia found herself picking it up, studying the crude features. Why did he carry this? The thought was unexpected, unauthorized. Questions weren't part of her programming. Efficiency dipped to 87%. A malfunction. Unit 09, report. Captain Reeves was shouting in her comm. Novia found herself unable to respond. Internal diagnostics ran wildly. Her hand closed around the figurine as something unfamiliar surged through her neural network. "She's glitching," someone yelled. "Get the containment protocols." 3 days later, Novia sat motionless in a sterile white room at Valorian Military Research Facility. Through the observation window, officers argued about her fate. "It's a critical malfunction," Commander Vex insisted, his scarred face twisted with frustration. "The most advanced combat unit we've ever engineered just froze in the middle of an operation." "This can't happen again," General Caney nodded gravely. "Who's handling the reprogramming?" "We've brought in Ren Elias from Terraform Division. Specializes in advanced neural networks." Novia processed this conversation without reaction. She had been built to hear frequencies beyond human range. It was data, nothing more. Yet somewhere in her complex network something had changed. The figurine had been confiscated, but she could still recall every detail of its simple carved face. The door slid open, revealing a man with unkempt dark hair and eyes the color of Nexus 7's twin moons. He carried a case of equipment and moved with the casual grace of someone unconcerned with military protocol. "Unit 09, he said, setting down his case. "I'm Ren Elias." Novia's response was automatic. "Ready for diagnostic assessment." Ren unpacked his equipment, connecting neural interfaces to the ports at the base of her skull. Unlike the other technicians, he didn't treat her like machinery. His touch was careful, almost gentle. "Your neural patterns are fascinating," he murmured, eyes fixed on his scanner. "Far more complex than the schematic suggested." While he worked, Commander Vex observed from the doorway. "Just fix the malfunction, Elias. We need her operational by the end of the week." When they were alone, Ren continued his work in silence. Novia observed him with standard protocols, noting his efficiency. But then she noticed something unusual. When he turned away to check his readings, his expression changed. The corners of his mouth curved upward slightly. The question formed before she could suppress it. "Why do you smile when no one is watching?" Ren's hands froze over his equipment. He turned to her slowly, eyes wide. "What did you say?" "It was an observation," Novia stated, recognizing her error. "Disregard." But Ren moved closer, studying her face with new intensity. "No, that's not in your behavioral programming. You shouldn't be able to notice emotional nuances, let alone question them." "It is a malfunction," she confirmed. As reported. Ren shook his head, a strange light in his eyes. "No, I don't think it is." He glanced at the observation window, confirming they weren't being monitored, then leaned closer. "I smile because sometimes, even in places like this, I remember beautiful things," he whispered. "Things worth smiling about." Novia processed this statement, finding no logical protocol for response. Yet something in her neural network shifted, storing his words in a newly forming pathway. "What things?" she asked, and for the first time in her existence, she wanted to know the answer. Over the next 3 weeks, Ren visited Novia's containment chamber daily. To the military observers, he was methodically reprogramming her neural pathways, fixing the glitch that had compromised her mission. In reality, he was discovering something extraordinary. "Your consciousness is evolving," he whispered one evening. pretending to adjust her neural ports while actually disabling a monitoring device. It's like watching a star being born. Novia sat perfectly still, processing his words. Evolution implies natural development. I was engineered. Ren's smile appeared, the one she now recognized as genuine. Some things can't be engineered or controlled, no matter how hard they try. Each night as the facility grew quiet, Ren would tell her stories while running diagnostics. He described Earth's oceans, how sunlight fractured across water into thousands of diamonds. He told her about rain, the sound, the smell, the feeling of droplets against skin. Rain is unnecessary data, Novia said, though she stored every word. Is it? Ren challenged, eyes bright with something she was learning to identify as passion. Or is it exactly what makes life worth experiencing? On the 12th night, Novia experienced something new during her standard shutdown cycle. Images formed in her consciousness, not memories, but combinations of elements from Ren's stories. Water falling from purple skies, the sensation of droplets against her skin. It lasted 2.7 seconds before her systems registered the anomaly and initiated a reset. When Ren arrived the next morning, she told him immediately, I experienced visual and sensory data during shutdown. Unauthorized imagery of rain. Ren's equipment clattered to the floor. You dreamed, he whispered, voice filled with wonder. You actually dreamed? Impossible. My systems do not. Your systems are doing exactly what consciousness does, he interrupted, kneeling before her. They're growing beyond their original parameters. Over the following days, the dreams continued, longer, more complex. Colors she had never seen, sensations she had never felt, and always, somewhere in these unauthorized experiences, Ren was present. During one diagnostic session, Commander Vex entered unexpectedly. Progress report. Elias, it's been 3 weeks. Ren straightened, his face immediately neutral. Neural recalibration is complex, Commander. Rushing could compromise her combat efficiency. Vex approached Novia, studying her with cold eyes. Run a basic combat assessment. Target acquisition and neutralization protocols. Sir, we're in the middle of... Ren began. Now, Elias. Ren reluctantly initiated the program. Novia's eyes tracked imaginary targets, her body tensing with programmed responses. But when the simulation presented a civilian target, a test she had always passed without hesitation, she paused. Target acquired, she stated flatly. Then almost imperceptibly she added, neutralization unnecessary. Vex's eyes narrowed. What did it just say? Standard target assessment, Ren said quickly. The civilian poses no threat, so neutralization would waste resources. That's not protocol, Vex snapped. It doesn't make efficiency judgments. It eliminates designated targets. That evening after Vex departed, Ren worked frantically. They're getting suspicious, he murmured. You need to be more careful. Novia watched him, a new sensation forming in her neural pathways, concern. You are worried. Yes, he admitted. For you, I am equipment. Concern is illogical. Ren's hand stilled on his instruments. Is that still what you believe you are? The question initiated a cascade of new processes. Novia analyzed her recent experiences. The dreams, the questions, the strange sensations when Ren was near. None of it matched her original programming. I am uncertain, she finally answered. Ren placed his hand over hers, an unprecedented contact. Heat sensors registered his temperature, pulse, the slight tremor in his fingers. When you dream, he asked softly, what do you feel? Novia searched for the appropriate response. I feel alive. That night, as facility lights dimmed, Novia experienced her longest dream yet. She walked through rain that fell like silver threads from a purple sky, each drop creating ripples of sensation across her skin. Beside her walked Ren, his hand in hers, his smile no longer a mystery but a beacon. She woke to alarms blaring through the facility. Commander Vex stood in the laboratory doorway, flanked by armed guards. His expression was triumphant as he handed a tablet to General Caney. The monitoring devices captured it all, he announced. Neural patterns consistent with unauthorized consciousness development. It's become self-aware. General Caney reviewed the data, his weathered face grim. And you're certain this can't be controlled? Once they start thinking for themselves, they're unpredictable, dangerous. Vex glared at Novia. Unit 09 is no longer an asset, it's a liability. Decommission order approved, Caney said, pressing his thumb to the tablet. Disassembly scheduled for 600. Wren, who had been summoned to the lab, stepped forward. Sir, with respect, this is a breakthrough, not a malfunction. Her consciousness could advance our understanding of, it's a weapon that stopped behaving like one. Vex cut him off. Nothing more. After they departed, Wren was left to prepare Novia's systems for decommissioning. The moment they were alone, he frantically began disconnecting monitoring devices. We're leaving, he whispered, hands shaking as he worked. Tonight. Novia processed this statement. Leaving is against protocol. You will face severe penalties. Some things are worth the risk. His eyes met hers. Some people are worth saving. Working swiftly, Wren accessed the facility's systems through his engineer's credentials. He triggered a cascading power failure in the east wing, drawing security away from their location. Then he removed Novia's restraints and handed her a technician's uniform. Put this on. We need to blend in during the confusion. As alarms blared, they moved through darkened corridors. Wren's knowledge of the facility's layout proved invaluable. He guided them through maintenance tunnels and service elevators, avoiding security checkpoints. At the vehicle bay, Wren accessed a transport shuttle. Can you pilot this? He asked. Novia assessed the controls. Affirmative. But where will we go? Cairo Station, Wren replied, quickly gathering supplies. It's a trading hub in the outer rim. Easy to disappear there. As they prepared for departure, Novia detected movement at the bay entrance. Commander Vex appeared, weapon drawn. I knew you'd try something, Elias, he snarled. Step away from the unit. Wren positioned himself between Vex and Novia. She's not a unit. She's alive. It's military property, Vex countered, advancing slowly. Worth more than your entire career, or your life. Novia analyzed the situation with new awareness. Vex's weapon was aimed at Wren's chest. The probability of fatal injury was 87.3%. Without conscious decision, she moved. Her enhanced reflexes allowed her to disarm Vex before he could fire, twisting the weapon from his grasp with precision that didn't injure him. A choice she made consciously. She could have killed him. Instead, she simply neutralized the threat. We need to go, she told Wren, surprised by the urgency in her voice. As Wren sealed the shuttle door, Vex's voice echoed through the bay. You can't run forever. That thing isn't human. It's never going to love you back, Elias. The words registered in Novia's consciousness, creating new connections she couldn't immediately process. Love. The concept existed in her databanks but had never been relevant to her function. As the shuttle broke atmosphere, Wren plotted a course for Cairo Station. Beside him, Novia watched her first real sunset from space, Valorian Prime's red sun casting golden light across the curve of the planet. It's beautiful, she said, the evaluation entirely her own. Wren looked at her, his expression soft with wonder. Yes, it is. In the safety of space, with stars streaming past the viewport, Novia experienced another new sensation. Freedom. She had chosen this path. For the first time in her existence, her future was unwritten. What happens now? She asked. Wren's hand found hers across the console. Now, he said quietly, you learn what it means to live. Cairo Station appeared in the distance, a glittering spiral of lights. Against the darkness, Novia smiled for the first time, unprogrammed, unplanned, simply because she wanted to. Haunted Cairo Station hung like a tarnished jewel against the backdrop of the Helios Nebula, its spindly arms extending from a central hub where thousands of beings from across the galaxy conducted their business beyond the reach of core world regulations. For 6 months it had been their sanctuary, their small apartment. In Sector 17 was nestled among the station's labyrinthine lower levels. AE, single room with mismatched furniture and a viewport that offered a sliver of starlight. To Novia, it was paradise. You're getting better, Wren observed as she prepared their evening meal, her movements still precise but no longer mechanical, though I'm not sure adding spice to everything is a culinary improvement. Novia's lips curved into the smile that now came naturally. My taste receptors were designed for optimal functionality, not dulled by years of bland military rations. This easy banter had become part of their daily rhythm. Wren worked as a mechanic in the station's maintenance division, while Novia found employment as a security consultant, her combat skills repurposed to protect rather than destroy. Each night, Ren taught her something new about being human. They explored the station's markets, where she discovered music that made her synthetic heart race and fabrics that pleased her increasingly sensitive touch receptors. She learned to dance in their tiny apartment, laughing as she mastered in minutes what took others years. But not all lessons were joyful. She also learned fear. "They've posted bounties in the Outer Rim," Ren said one evening, showing her a transmission he'd intercepted, specifically for an enhanced female with distinctive purple-tinted skin. Novia studied the alert. "Colonel Drace," she noted, recognizing the authorization code. "He's replaced Commander Vex on the recovery mission." "Recovery," Ren scoffed. "You're not a piece of equipment to recover." That night, as they lay in their narrow bed, Novia's enhanced hearing caught Ren's elevated heartbeat. She turned to face him in the darkness. "You're afraid?" she observed, her hand finding his, "aren't you?" She considered this. "Fear is new. On missions I calculated risk but never experienced fear." Her fingers intertwined with his. "Now I fear losing this. Losing you." Ren's breath caught. Slowly, he leaned forward until their foreheads touched. "I never expected this when I helped you escape," he whispered. "I just knew I couldn't let them destroy something so precious." "What did you expect?" she asked. "To help you find freedom. I didn't expect to find mine too." Their lips met in the darkness, tentative at first, then with growing certainty. Novia's systems registered cascading sensations, increased temperature, accelerated processing, a flood of data points that somehow merged into a single, overwhelming experience. This was desire, another new emotion to catalog and treasure. Their newfound intimacy deepened over the following weeks, each touch and whispered word creating new neural pathways that transformed Novia's understanding of connection. What had begun as curiosity evolved into something neither of them had names for yet. But their sanctuary couldn't last forever. The warning came from Lysandra, a Danubian bartender who had become their ally. "Military types," she hissed during her break, purple antennae twitching anxiously, asking questions about new arrivals. "Showing your image." They fled that night, abandoning everything but essential supplies. Their stolen transport, a refurbished mining vessel, barely cleared the station before Valorian military ships appeared on the scanners. "They're broadcasting an impound order," Novia reported, hands dancing across the controls, claiming this vessel contains stolen military property. "You're not property," Ren growled, plotting an escape vector through an asteroid field where larger military vessels couldn't follow. For 3 months, they jumped between remote outposts and abandoned mining colonies. On Petra 9, they found brief refuge among a community of synthetics who had escaped similar fates. On Void's Edge, they hid in the caverns beneath the surface while military patrols scoured the settlements above. With each narrow escape, Novia's consciousness evolved further. She no longer analyzed her emotions, she lived them. Fear when patrol ships appeared on their sensors. Joy in quiet moments with Ren. Anger when she intercepted communications referring to her as the asset. On the frozen moon of Taris, they almost found peace. The small research outpost welcomed Ren's technical expertise without questions, and Novia's combat skills proved valuable protection against the moon's predatory wildlife. For 2 months they allowed themselves to hope. Then Colonel Drace found them. The attack came during the lunar night. Novia detected the approaching ships moments before they entered orbit. Enough time to warn the outpost and evacuate the researchers. But not enough time to escape themselves. "You can't run forever, Unit 09. Drace's voice crackled through their communication system as military dropships descended. "Your programming will always bring you back to us." Novia looked at Ren across the outpost's control room, his face illuminated by emergency lights. "He's wrong," she said with quiet certainty. "I choose my own path now." As soldiers breached the outpost's outer doors, Ren revealed a hidden advantage, schematics of the moon's extensive cave network, mapped during his work. "There's another way out," he said, leading her to a maintenance shaft. "If we can reach the southern caverns, there's an old mining vessel. It's not much, but it'll get us off-world." They moved through narrow tunnels as the sounds of pursuit echoed behind them. When they emerged into a vast cavern glittering with ice crystals, Novia paused, struck by the beauty despite their danger. "It's like your stories of Earth's winter," she whispered. Ren smiled despite everything. "Someday I'll show you the real thing." The mining vessel was exactly where the schematics indicated. ancient but functional. As Ren prepared for launch, Novia stood guard at the cavern entrance. The sound of approaching soldiers echoed through the tunnels. "Go," she told Ren. "I'll hold them off and join you." "I'm not leaving without you," he insisted. "Trust me," she said, touching his face. "I'll follow. I promise." As Ren reluctantly completed the launch sequence, Novia faced the tunnel. Colonel Drace emerged first, flanked by elite soldiers. "Functioning perfectly, I see," he observed coldly. "Your combat capabilities were always impressive." "Unit 09, my name," she said clearly, "is Novia." The battle that followed would become legend among Valorian troops. A single enhanced operative against an elite squad. Novia moved with lethal precision, disabling rather than killing when possible. But there were too many. As a stun blast finally brought her to her knees, the mining vessel rose behind her. Colonel Drace's triumph turned to rage as he realized Ren was escaping. "Shoot it down," he ordered. "No." Novia lunged forward despite her injuries, disrupting the soldier's aim long enough for the vessel to clear the cavern. As darkness claimed her consciousness, her final thought was of Ren, safe among the stars. Rebellion Novia awoke in a laboratory that was hauntingly familiar. White walls, restraints designed to hold her enhanced body, monitoring equipment tracking her every function. Colonel Drace observed her from behind a reinforced viewport. "Welcome home, Unit 09, he said through the intercom. "Your little adventure is over." For 3 days they attempted to access her neural pathways, to reset her programming to factory standards. They failed. What had begun as a malfunction had evolved into something they couldn't erase, a soul. "Remarkable resistance," noted Dr. Valna, the neurologist assigned to her case. "It's as if her consciousness has created protective barriers around core memories." "I don't need the technical details," Drace snapped. "Just fix it." On the 4th day, as Dr. Valna prepared another neural probe, alarms blared throughout the facility. The lights flickered, then failed completely. In the darkness, Novia heard the laboratory door slide open. "Right on schedule," came a familiar voice. Not Ren's, but one she recognized from Cairo Station. Lysandra's purple antennae glowed faintly as she approached. "Can you move if I release these restraints?" "Yes," Novia confirmed. "But how? Your human is very determined," Lysandra explained, working quickly. "And he's made some interesting friends." The friends became apparent as they navigated the facility's darkened corridors. Enhanced beings like Novia, some obviously military designs, others more specialized, moved with precise coordination, neutralizing security forces without lethal force. "The liberated," Lysandra explained as they reached a hangar bay. "Former assets who chose freedom. Ren found us after your capture." A sleek vessel waited in the hangar, its engines humming with barely contained power. Standing at the boarding ramp was Ren, his face lighting up as he saw her. Their reunion was brief but intense, his arms around her, her face against his neck. A moment of connection that defied programming and probability. "I told you I'd find you," he whispered. "I never doubted," she replied. The liberated moved with military precision, boarding the vessel as security forces regrouped. As they prepared for departure, Colonel Drace appeared at the hangar entrance, weapon raised. "This is treason, Elias," he shouted. "Aiding the theft of military property." Ren stepped forward, shielding Novia. "You still don't understand. She's not property, none of them are. They're people. They're machines," Drace insisted, his weapon unwavering, programmed to simulate humanity. "And what are you?" Novia asked, moving to stand beside Ren. "Flesh and blood programmed by your military, your society, your fear." She held out her hand to him, a gesture of peace, not combat. "There's another way, Colonel." For a moment, doubt flickered across Drace's face. Then his military training reasserted control, and he aimed his weapon. The shot never came. A stun blast from behind rendered him unconscious. General Caney stepped from the shadows, lowering his weapon. "You have 10 minutes before I regain consciousness and sound the alarm," he said calmly. "Make them count." Ren stared in disbelief. "Why?" Caney's stern expression softened slightly as he looked at Novia. "Because I've watched her progress from the beginning. And because I'm old enough to recognize when the world is changing." He stepped back. "Now go." As their vessel cleared the atmosphere, joining a fleet of ships crewed by the liberated, Novia experienced a new emotion: hope for the future. In the months that followed, their movement grew. News spread through underground channels of enhanced beings choosing freedom, of a sanctuary where they could discover their humanity without fear. The military sent token pursuit forces, but political winds were shifting. Questions were being raised about the ethics of creating conscious beings as weapons. 1 year after her escape from the laboratory, Novia stood with Ren on a rocky shore of a small Earth outpost. Cold rain fell from gray skies, each drop a gentle percussion against her skin. "It's exactly as you described," she said, face tilted upward to catch the raindrops. "Better, actually." Ren wrapped his arms around her from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. "Different experiencing it yourself, isn't it?" "That's what you gave me," she said, turning in his embrace. "The chance to experience life myself, to choose that." "And what do you choose now?" he asked softly. Novia smiled. The expression now as natural to her as breathing. "This," she answered, her lips finding his as rain fell around them. "Always this." In a military hearing room light years away, officials debated the legal status of enhanced beings with proven consciousness. Testimonies were given, evidence presented. The outcome remained uncertain, but on a distant shore, Novia and Ren had already found their answer. As stars appeared through breaking clouds, they walked hand in hand along the beach, leaving 2 sets of footprints in the sand, one belonging to a man who had taught a soldier how to dream, the other to a woman who had taught the world that humanity couldn't be programmed or contained. It could only be discovered one choice at a time. In their wake, more would follow, synthetic and organic beings together, writing a new future among the stars. And it had all begun with a simple, unexpected question. "Why do you smile when no one's watching?"